And welcome. This is Voices in the Gallery, the official podcast for RoGallery, located in New York. And part of the gallery is a wonderful museum. And today we're going to spotlight one of the exhibits in that museum. That is the life and work of Michael Knigin. And with us today is his widow, Joanie Kraisky. And this is all about remembering the Holocaust then and now. Welcome. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for asking.
I'm usually not at a loss of words, but honestly, looking around at the history of the Holocaust and the way your husband told the story in his art, it is breathtaking. I'm in awe every time I look at any one of these works of art. This goes back to his childhood, doesn't it?
Yes, he was born in Brooklyn, and at the time of his born in 1945. So there was a lot of discussion about the Second War, and of course the Holocaust. And as he matured and went to Temple University and became an artist, he became aware of the Holocaust, in particularly when he went to Israel to open the first printmaking atelier in 1970s. He was invited by the Jerusalem Foundation and Teddy Kollek to do that. And he met a lot of people who were survivors there. And as a result, he decided to create art and collages of the stories of their life.
This is very much pop art. Was this always in his wheelhouse? Was one of his affinities for art?
Well, he was a photorealist painter, and he also had this feeling about art that he would juxtapose different things that didn't really weren't supposed to go together. Whether that's considered pop art or not, I'm not sure. But in that way, he wanted to show the differences between a good life and the tragedy that was occurring during the Holocaust. And some of these pieces do show um, that people were unaware of the fact that there were things so horrible going on, and that a lot of people really didn't care about it.
I want to focus on one piece of art, and that's this painting over here, and it's called Surrender. The image of the little boy with his hands in the air
Right.
surrendering is etched in my memory, and I'm sure for most people, when you look at images of the Holocaust or just news in general. Tell us about that.
Well, this piece epitomizes a lot of things that were going on at the same time, namely that the terror that was created when the Nazis took over Warsaw. And this is known as the Warsaw Boy. And behind him is, of course, a soldier and a image of a rabbi or some other Jewish person who probably was also being terrorized, and the railroad trains that were taking the cattle cars that were taking people to the concentration camps. But it's a very famous image of the boy with his hands up, and it's been written about and shown all over the world for many, many, many years. And this was part of a book that was put together by a well-known Holocaust educator named Bata Bruton out of Israel, and Michael was invited to participate in that book.
Tell us about your journey with Michael along the way when he would create this art and create the awareness for the Holocaust. What was going through his mind? What would he tell you?
Well, he wanted it to be his legacy. He decided when he went after his trip back from Israel in the 70s, and he was working on other things. Around 2000, he decided to take this on to be something to remember and to tell the stories, and so people would never forget, which is, of course, something that we all say when we talk about the Holocaust. And basically, he wanted to make it his legacy so that he could teach the lessons of the Holocaust so that people would know that behavior, and this sort of behavior was morally wrong. So I think that's basically how we dealt with it towards the end of his life, when we started traveling internationally to shows. in Hungary and in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They had major shows, one of which was Anne Frank in Hungary, which he participated in. And the other one was a show at the Sherwin Miller Museum of Holocaust Art in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where they built a permanent installation of his Anne Frank pieces, and still on exhibition today, of course. But he was very much involved in this. It became something that was a tremendous passion for him. And I continued it after his death. I had a show at the Guildhall in East Hampton.
I want to share with everyone, you're also an artist.
Yes, I am. But I had a show of Michael's called Michael Knigin, Anne Frank, and the Holocaust in 2017 of his work, that some of these pieces, which was a very successful show, and continuing his legacy in this way. Now Robert RoGallery has these pieces and, of course, has put together this wonderful exhibition. Very grateful to him for what he's done, and hopefully we will continue to teach the lessons.
Walking in this room and seeing in this gallery or museum all of these pieces of art, you're looking at history, you're looking at an atrocity, but the story is being told.
Well, Michael had a tremendous talent of creating things that were, he would be able to take like things that were probably horrific, but using his talent and his creativity, he was able to make them palatable. And many of these pieces were used by teachers throughout the country to teach the Holocaust off his internet, to teach the lessons to children. In fact, in one school, I remember he got a phone call and they said, "We're so happy to have used your pieces. We'd like to send you," or the children, they were 10-year-olds, "we'd like to send you their images of their interpretation of your art."
My gosh. So they looked at his work, the story, the message, the intent, and then created their own based on that?
Yes, and they were about, little kids who made these little drawings, and they sent them to Michael, and
Wow.
he was very grateful.
That must have touched him and you at the same
Yes,
time.
of course it did. It was a beautiful thing.
You mentioned Anne Frank. There's one piece of work here that includes her handwriting. She did a lot of writing. Also, there's a postal stamp on there of one of the letters that was mailed, and her image as well. He was very connected to her in
Yes,
her legacy.
he had a very strong passion for Anne Frank. He loved the story. He wanted to tell the story. He admired her greatly, and he did a complete series on Anne Frank. I think what he wanted to say in these images was that she was so monumental historically in her writings and her ability to live beyond just that time of her own life, that she was a mature and exciting person who was not thwarted by the fact that she was in captivity, basically, but that she was able to be like whatever she could be at the time. I think he probably admired that greatly, and he wanted people to know more about her, so he created the series of Anne Frank, which is this based on the book. His images are based on the book.
In a way, there's a parallel between Anne and Michael in that she wanted to get the word out, and that's why she would write.
Right.
And he's doing the same thing with his art.
Absolutely. That's very true. And I think that he was a very special man who had a tremendously deep sense of responsibility to humanity by creating these pieces. And I'm so happy that we're able to share this with people and to continue it as I think it's so valuable.
It's on display at the RoGallery, Long Island City, just outside of New York City, remembering the Holocaust then and now. Joanie, thank you for joining us today. Truly wonderful talking with you and learning about Michael and experiencing his work. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
To learn more, go to RoGallery.com.